Lexical this, arrow functions. This is the second part of the video we recorded yesterday, which is already available in our YouTube channel. So let's recap a bit. With classic functions, what's the value of lexical this? Let's simplify the example. So we have a function called user1, we have an object, called user1 that has a function called getAge. So we got something like that. Then, right, so can you tell me the breakpoint order? Tom? 5. That's it. Correct. Just to check if you were paying attention, right? It will stop on line number 5, hopefully. And if it stops on line number 5, what will it be the value of the lexical this? It will be user1. Will it be user1? That's correct. User1. Why user1, Tom?
Because that's the object excluded.
Correct, correct. Because this, as you already know, refers to the object that invokes the function where lexical this is. And so we know that already. But now I'm going to change the example a bit. So what, before touching any single line of code, what will this example return? "22." Correct. That's correct, Marta. 22. We can even remove user2. I'm not going to change the binding anymore for now. So that returns 22, that's easy, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm going to do some magic here. I'm going to transform the classic function into a sexy arrow function. What will this return now? Error. Why error, Marta? Say it again. You cannot use arrow functions with this. That's wrong. You can use arrow functions with this, but maybe not in the way we expect. So what's the value of the this object now? Is it user1? So you think that's still user1. So if it's user1, that should return 22. However, if we run this snippet, it will probably return, I will say, not a number. Correct. Correct. You've noticed, right? I haven't changed anything apart from replacing a classic function with an arrow function. But up until now, I'm pretty sure that most of you assumed that they were equivalent. It was just a matter of beautifulness, right? Readability, but they are not. Even though most of the time you can exchange them, in some circumstances they are not equivalent. And this is a good example. So whenever you have to deal with the lexical this, careful, careful. Depending on whether you use a classic function or an arrow function, lexical this will change. So with the classic function, let me put it back. We know that this refers to the object that invokes the function where lexical this is. However, with arrow function, it's not the case. With arrow function, it doesn't matter from which object do we call the function. But let me rephrase that. That example will return 22. But something we already learned yesterday is what happens if we have that. Can you tell me what this example returns? Why 25, Eugene?
I think it's going to invoke. I think it's going to invoke the function within user one.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense to me. That's correct. Why? Because now we are not invoking getAge from user one. We're invoking getAge from window. Consequently, this points to what?
Window.
To window. It points to window. Correct. Correct. So you can see how easily is to alter, to modify the output, just changing the object that invokes our function. Right? It's very sensitive. It changes easily. But then I'll put back the previous example for now. That will return 22. Correct. If we put an arrow function, it doesn't care who invokes this function. And that's the benefit, that's the main benefit of arrow functions, that it will never change lexical this. With a classic function, this getAge method is not strong enough, it's not solid enough, because depending on who invokes it, it will return something or something else, right? So the function itself doesn't have control on what the value of this .h has with classic function. But with arrow function, it does have control. Because with arrow function, it doesn't matter if we do user one getAge, if we do Windows getAge, it doesn't matter. It's always the same. And then you are asking yourself, the same what? What's the value? So with arrow functions, lexical this is inherited, as someone mentioned earlier today. That means that whatever the lexical this is on the parent context, it will be reused here. In other words, what's the value of the lexical this on the root context? Which one? It's window. It's not user one, right? So on the root level, lexical this points to window, as we explained yesterday. Because of that, in this particular case, we're inheriting the context of the parent scope, let's say. What's a scope? Generally speaking, it's a function. So that means that it will look for the parent function and it will inherit that value for the lexical this. Because here we don't have any parent function. I'll change the example to have a parent function in a minute. But for now, because we don't have any parent context, it will default to window. In other words, what will that example return? That's correct. That's correct. And what happened if we again assign it to window? What will this return? Correct. You see, the benefit of arrow functions is it doesn't care how many tricks we do here. Right? What happened if we do that? So I'm going to put the user2 back, and then age 88. So then I'm going to do user1.getAge.call user2. What? 41. So Gray says it returned 41. Do you agree? Yes, no, why? Tom? You don't feel very confident about that?
So when you're doing call, is that overriding the
I don't know.
what the arrow function's inheriting?
I don't know. That's
I think
the
it might
That's the mystery of coding. You never know. So, Gin, agree on that? Now is where people start saying, I agree as well, because you said that that's correct, right? Not because they are really confident about it. You have a question? Of course you can have a question.
Do we add values for discount 1 and discount 2?
Do you what, sorry?
Values for discount 1 and discount 2. Because we are.
Oh yeah, we don't have any value. That's correct, sorry. So Alex is correct. Why 41? Yeah, so that's completely random, right? So that's completely random. Why return? It was Boris Johnson, right? AI, right? Wrong. Wrong. So what do we need? I mean, assuming that you are right, which, I don't know, at least you need to change something, right? What do you need to change to return 41? Assuming that your lexical this works as expected.
But a 1 and a 2 is arguments.
Correct. Right? At least. And then, yes. Thank you, Alex. But still, do you agree on that? Yes or no? Yes. Does everybody agree? This is correct? Let's run it. That's correct.
So it doesn't get overwritten.
Correct. 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 So again, if you use a arrow function, it doesn't matter if you use call, bind, apply. It doesn't matter how many tricks you do, right? So if you are the owner of this API, in this particular case, arrow functions are convenient because you're making sure that your code is strong, right? Any question? Let's talk about parent context. Back to, yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
I have a question.
yeah, go for it.
So how can you invoke a function with the user one object h? Is there a way?
Not following this pattern. You will have to pass the h as an argument or something like that. But if you want to use lexical this, no, no way. Okay? So I'm going to change the example a bit because you play, some of you, and now this problem will get much, much, much worse in your lives because some of you are starting to deal with drop downs on your team apps, buttons when you click, right? All these things, right? So in reality, when you deal with user interaction, generally speaking, with React, you have like a callback function. So with React, this is pseudocode. You do button on click equals submit. So then you have on your class you have submit, and then here you do your magic, right? So this kind of interaction will become more and more important in your products. Because of that, here you need to master this object. That is very important. So let me change the example a bit. Let me get rid of all this mess at the bottom. So user one get h. Let's keep it simple, right, something like that. So then look, I'm going to remove everything. So I'm not going even to get the h. So I'm going to add a timeout. That's example, right? What's the value of lexical this? Window. Why window object? In?
Oh, it's function. Oh.
User one or window. User one. You change your mind, right? What else? Anyone else has a different opinion? Do you all agree with Gin?
Parent function.
It's the parent function. Why is the parent function, Tom?
Parent function using.
Is it not set? Why is it not set timeout?
No?
I don't know.
Well, I know, but
I know you do. I don't know.
why user one, Kim?
Because we're not using the other functions.
Again?
We're not using the other
So,
functions.
correct. So, let's change the example a bit. You see what I want to do, right? What's the value of lexical this here, and what's the value of lexical this there? Interesting.
First one is 25.
Is what? 35. Ah. User got older, right? And second one? I don't know. Maybe this is just random, right? Maybe this is I'm just playing with values around. So, why is 100, Alex?
Maybe in the inside,
Yep.
it's just like the arrow function uses the window object.
Yeah, but we don't have any arrow function here.
I'm just guessing.
Right, so let's have a look. Off-topic questions. Before that, what's the execution order? Victor?
Out of 5, 7, and 9.
Yeah?
5.
Mm-hmm.
Then 7
Mm-hmm.
and 9.
Right or wrong?
Probably right. You've got no value on it.
No timeout.
Wrong. It's not correct. That's not correct.
Still asynchronous, even though
Correct, Tom. Can you share that with
so
everybody?
even though you haven't put a time on the set timeout, it's still asynchronous.
That's correct. That's correct. Set timeout is always synchronous. It always runs in a new context. So that means that even if we don't have any timing here, this will, line number 7 will always run after line number 9. Let's prove that. 5, correct. 9, and 7. Right? Cool. So, right, I got the console log, right? So they spoil the results a bit. So let's have a look. I think you should understand at this stage what's the value of the this object in that line, right? What is this pointing to here? Line number 5. User 1, correct. Let's prove that. That's correct, right? Why? Because we call the function using user 1. Makes sense, right? But then, the tricky question is the next one. If I play again, look at that. Why this points to window now?
Is it because set timeout is the method of the window?
Correct. Set timeout is the same as doing window.set timeout. So the window will eventually, after this delay, that could be 500 milliseconds, right? After 500 milliseconds, the window object will be the responsible of invoking this function. That's why inside of the set timeout, we change the lexical this. This is a bit inconvenient because what happens if we want to display the age of the user after half a second? How do we do that with lexical this? I want to display the same message here and there. using without changing this line or without changing that line. Assign it to the window. No, no, wrong. Because the age is 25, so I want to display 25 twice. Right? Because I want to display the age of the user, right, which is 25. This is just random thing. So how we make this to display 25 here? I don't want to wrap anything.
It's just a guess. If we put user one instead of window before the set time.
What happens if we put user1.set timeout? Alex?
But I would think if the window not set timeout works with the window.
Yeah?
Maybe user one dot set timeout or if the values user one.
Okay, so what happens if I add a breakpoint on line number 5, 7, and 9? What's the execution order? Anyone? 5 and 7. 5, 9, 7. Wrong. Why not, Tom? Why not? 5, 7, 9. Wrong. 7, 5, 9. Wrong.
9, 5, 7.
9, 5, 7. Wrong. Gim.
Oh no, 5, 9. It's 5, 9. 7's not gonna run.
Sorry, let's leave Gim because he was saying something interesting before. So, error, but what error means? So, how many times, in which lines the debugger will stop? 6. Wow, that's super exotic. I don't even have a breakpoint on line number 6. 5, 9. Wrong.
It's 5.
Right.
Wow.
Victor is right.
Wow.
Why, Victor?
Is it because when it gets to 7, it's not going to run that line and it's just going to stop running because of an error?
That's absolutely correct. That's perfect. That's brilliant. User1 is an object with these properties, but user1 doesn't have any property called setTimeout. So what user1.setTimeout returns? Undefined. What happens if we try to execute undefined? Blows up, right? So it should throw an error here. Consequently, it will never, yeah? No, you see, so Kim had the idea, right? And Victor materialized it into a valid answer. I mean, let's try that. Let's see if that's correct or not. 5. And that's it. And we got an error. User1 setTimeout is not a function. So then what? That's not valid. So what Alex proposed is not valid, right? So again, I want to display the same message here and there.
What are the constraints of what we can and can't do? You said without changing them.
No, I want to change something, but not here and not there.
Maybe in
The
the
bind.
Bind. I like that. You could use bind. But to me it will look a bit more complicated to read. But you could use bind. That's technically speaking correct. Or, as Tom suggested, how do we do that?
Array function, so it inherits.
Correct. This is the first thing we explained today, right? So, with an arrow function, it doesn't matter who is invoking. Oh, that's very exotic. It doesn't matter who invokes that function. It doesn't matter. It just inherits the parent one. So what's the parent lexical this? Here. Yeah. Because in here we all agreed that it was pointing to user1. here it should be user1 as well. Correct. Correct. And this is the reason why when we work with React, having arrow functions is very convenient, because generally speaking, as I explained before, with React, you'll end up having something like that. Class details extends component, and then you eventually have a render function, and the render function return a div, and the div will this doesn't work obviously because this is JSX, which is not supported by the browser out of the box. But anyway, so we got a button, click me now or I'll kill you, and eventually we have the on click. What? Magic. So then you have a function called magic, right? So imagine that you have another function here called do fetch, which will call the backend to do something. So if we do here this do fetch, this won't work. That example will never work. Why? Because on line number 20, lexical this has changed. It's not pointing to the class anymore. It's pointing somewhere else. It's pointing somewhere else. Because by doing that, we are changing lexical this. So probably the best way to handle that, and you'll have this problem sooner or later, there are different approaches.
Wait, sorry.
Yep.
Why is it not pointing to the component?
Okay.
Because you said it's to the parent function.
Yeah, we can play with it if you want. It won't point to the component. It won't point because eventually this will be translated to HTML. So it will create a JavaScript listener. So this will point to a weird context. I'm happy to do a live demo of that if you want. But just for now, trust me, this won't work. This one. And you'll have this issue. You'll do that and say, and it will throw an error. The same we did with the set timeout. It will say, hey, do fetch is not a valid function of blah, blah, blah. It's like, what's that? I got the do fetch function underneath, right? So to solve this issue, the easiest way, I'm sure some of you have seen, and I don't like it, but this is pretty standard. If you search on the internet how to solve this issue with React, they will tell you to do something like that. I've seen some of you doing that hack on your code, in your team application, right? That's valid. That's valid. And again, lots of developers, they do that. But to me, it's a bit dirty. It's a bit dirty because every time you create a function, you need to remember to do this hack on top. I don't like it. I personally don't like it. Because of that, my preferred approach is to use an arrow function here. You can do that. Easy, right? If you simply do that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the context that invoke this function. Because eventually, as it's an arrow function, it will inherit the parent one. The parent one is the class itself. So if you do this trick, then this refers to the class. And because it refers to the class, you don't need that. And you can simply keep invoking one function to the other, like that. That's the trick with React. Again, if you want to do a session about that particular case, I'm happy to do a separate one. But I don't want to make this longer. Just for now, keep in mind that arrow functions are very useful when you want to inherit the parent execution context. Right? Is there any question?
Why couldn't you just do fetch? Why did it have to be this?
Because this is how classes work. So when you create a class, this is a bit off topic, class Victor. So when you have a class Victor and you have a welcome method, and the welcome method is a console.log, this is Victor and I play ping pong. So sorry, that's one, right? Class Victor, like that. So then you can do let Victor note the case, right? So this is the instance, it's lowercase, this is the class name, this is capital case, equals new Victor. So I want to create a new instance of class. So then hopefully we can do Victor.welcome. Let me see if that makes any sense. Correct, right? So that's the way you create a very simple class and you invoke a method. But what happens if welcome redirects to or points to another function called get welcome message? So if you have this function, right, you can do this dot get welcome message. So that's the way classes in JavaScript work. You need to refer lexical this and then it will invoke this function. So if we do console.log get welcome message and then you return your statement, right? So it works. If you remove the this, it won't work. Look at the color. It changed the color, right? Why? Because it will try to find a global function get welcome message. Get welcome message is not a global function. It's an internal function of the Victor class, right? So if I run that, it will probably fail because get welcome message is undefined. Again, if we try to invoke an undefined function, it will throw an error. Exactly. Yep. That's right. So, and again, if here we have a set timeout, just to remark what we've learned, after half a second, will this work? Why not?
It's thrown to the window.
Correct. Correct. That's the learning, right? That will throw an error. Actually, let's do something. Breakpoints. Yuyin.
Yeah.
Two?
No,
No, not two. No two. Right.
15,
15,
2,
2,
5,
5,
11,
11, 6. Wrong.
Oh.
Alexa. Alexa, give me the answer. Solve the problem, yes. 15. 2. 6. 11. And that's it. I think it's wrong as well. Again.
15,
15 to 5.
It's not around 6. No, it's
That's it. Wrong. Osman? 15? 2? 5? Wrong. Marta? Yeah. Yeah. 15, 2, 5, and 6. Victor, Tom, Guy, do you have anything to say about any of these options?
I'll go with error.
You go. So error means that it won't stop at any breakpoint.
It will try to.
Wrong. Tom, Victor?
Well, this is going to try and call on the window, which is then it's going to throw an error there. I think. So is it just going to stop at?
Let's run it and see what happened. 15. It's good, right? And then 2. That's good. And then we'll call welcome. So it should go to number 5. Correct. Correct. So 5. So we got not Alex, but we got. Yeah, so let's see who is right here. If we continue, it should stop on line number 6 after half a second. That's correct. That's correct. And now, so who do you think is right? Osman or Marta? And why? Well, that's a bit opinionated, right? If I said otherwise. So, just ignore that, right? Assume that I think both could be okay. Why Marta is right?
because it's not gonna, well, it points to this getting off the message, but it points to the window object.
Correct, 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 correct. That's correct, again. Because again, you see it's the same thing again and again. But this is a source of pain, so it's very important to master it. Because that will happen to you. Hey, this function is not defined. Why not? I have it 3 lines below. It's because the this lexical this has changed. Right? Who is invoking this callback? Who is invoking this timeout callback? Window, correct. So this points to window. Do we have a get welcome message on the window? Probably not, right? No. We don't have that. So that should throw an error. I mean, even if that doesn't throw an error, still, this line will never be executed. It's just ignored, right? So that will throw an error, correct, and line number 11 won't be triggered. So then, last question of the day. How do we fix it? Correct. Arrow function. That should hopefully make it. So long story short, if you are working with classes, remember that a class is a relatively new JavaScript principle introduced in ES6 2015. Unless you have a very strong reason, use arrow functions. Because if you use arrow functions, then you are ensuring that your lexical this always refers to the class itself, regardless of who and how created and invoked the methods of that function. Cool? Any question? No? That was it, guys. Thank you for watching.